Okay.
And bam, just like that, here we are. Triple T number 40, number 40. Welcome to October 4th, 2022. We made it this far. Rock and roll. If you're watching the recording, my name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver. Got lots of wallpaper, which doesn't mean a whole lot unless you can share the knowledge and actually utilize what they say you can utilize. If you're watching for the first time, please hit subscribe and ring the bell and do all the things that we know to do on YouTube. And again, summertime. We're in the fall, so we got lots of people doing lots of things all over the place. I've gotten lots of texts this week. We're not going to be able to make it, but I'll watch the replay. So, hi, welcome to the replay. Wish you were here, but I know you're here in spirit. So, as I try to do every week on this, I ask people what happened over the week, but seeing as Holly had to jump out quick, and for those of you that are watching the replay, you only get to see the people whose cameras are on, which makes it look really lonely sometimes. Yes, it currently is Lenora and myself, and a few people that are hidden in the shadows, but Lenora, how has your week been?
My week has been good. How's your week?
Well, considering I've been working out doing construction trade, which is something I did back in the day, and got the contractors here today to work on the apartment and the shop. So thank goodness this meeting is not being brought to you by Smell-O-Vision. I would probably offend all of thee, but got a lot of work done and reminded me how much I enjoy building and doing remodels and constructions. The cool part about it that I've always enjoyed, especially when building and things of that nature, is you know what the area looked like when you started. Sometimes it can be a barren plot of land, and when you're done, there's a building that can be utilized. Sometimes things are broken and you get the opportunity to go in and fix them and make them usable again. And sometimes you look at what was done by previous builders and you go, time to change it up. Which kind of ties into the things that we talk about here a lot with working with clients and stuff like that, where the previous owners, you're either the younger self or the parental units, or even farther back, have put programming on our quote unquote hard drives and allowed us to go through life with these limiting beliefs and paranoias and phobias, and events happen and PTSDs set in, and we start believing that that is who we truly are, and there's no changing it. And we often forget that just like remodeling a room or a house, if we put our mind to it, get the right people involved, you can take an old, dilapidated, beautiful house that once was beautiful, and time and weather and occupancy has wore it down till somebody comes in and does their magic. Ta-da! And then all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, oh, what? This is so beautiful. And we forget how easy it is to do the exact same thing to ourselves. That's why I'm so adamant when I hear people, especially friends and clients that know me well, when they say limiting beliefs or talk down about themselves. And I'll call them out right away, like, did you just say that? Those that know me well have probably heard that a number of times. And the cool part is I give them full permission to pull the same on me. Yes, even I have been guilty of speaking limiting beliefs and talking down about myself every now and then. I try to limit it as much as possible, but that's part of me exposing my human side. Oh my gosh. Breaking news, TJ is not a robot. So, in fact, I walked into my office about 14 minutes before I was supposed to go live and forgot to write down what I'd put on YouTube or on Facebook about what I was going to talk to tonight. I know one of them was the importance of flirting. Now, I know that marriage counselors and women who've been cheated on, well, women and men who've been cheated on and all the above just went, what? What? Yes, thank you, Holly. More on fears and IMU. I actually had somebody go, what is IMU? Well, stick around. I'll tell you in a bit. So, the importance of flirting. And the reason I put that down there is sometimes, especially when we get into relationships or things of that nature, we are informed that the time for flirting has passed. You are taken. You are no longer allowed to flirt. Yeah. And yet, if you grew up in certain areas of the country, you realize that there are other certain parts of the country that certain ways of talking that would be interpreted as flirting are standard, everyday conversational. Hey, sweetie. Hey, honey. All the above. I know because I moved from Minnesota to California to Texas. Hey, sweetie. Thank you, sweetie. Thanks, love. And I know that's part of the conversation. That's kind of like the equivalent to California. Thanks, dude. Dude, oh, dude. So, along with that, it comes down to the intention, which makes it so much more acceptable around here because the intention is nothing to try to, hey, sweetie, can I get your number? No, it's just, hey, sweetie. It's a nice way of dealing and talking to people. It's a little more personal, which makes the day, in my opinion, makes the day go by a lot easier as well. Any input or opinions on that part so far, out of curiosity?
I would say it depends, because it can be taken wrong very quickly.
Correct.
Very quickly, unfortunately.
And that was the perfect word to end with, unfortunately. And a lot of it, again, comes down to intention. I've been a flirt my entire life. I don't care if they're 3 or 103. But my intention has always been to make them smile, laugh, giggle, and feel better about themselves and have a better day. And before my wife and I got married, I had to remind her and let her know, I don't flirt with people, women, with the intention of getting their number or scoring. Because if that were the case, there's a whole lot of women that I've flirted with that would not have been flirted with. But on the other hand, we can't deny how many out there have been in a day where you're just like kind of in a funk, and somebody comes by and jokes and laughs and flirts with you a little bit, and then they take off into the nether, and you know you're never going to see them again, but your day shifted. All of a sudden you just got that little grin on your face, and you got that little hop skip in your step, and then you see a pretty face like Francine show up out of the blue, and you're just like, oh. And it's something that simple. And the other part that I believe that it connects to comes out of the what Dr. David Snyder refers to as the pillars of power. And when you look at the basic pillars of personality that we want to have, there's victorious, there's curiosity, there's relentlessness. Anybody know what the other one is?
Playfulness.
Playfulness! Ah! And I think that ties right in with the art of flirting. And I'm going to call it respectful flirting. Especially, when I flirt with grandma and, stuff like that, it's all respectful flirting. But how often does grandma get that kind of fun, flirtatious, playful attention? And yet, what does it do for her? Big smile. Ah, you're just, ah. So I'm curious, when's the last time you had fun with respectful flirting? And even with your spouse or, stuff like that. We also have to remember when we're in a relationship, how did we act when we first met? What was it about that person that attracted you? Now, if you ended up with a person who has never flirted with you, but you loved them for other reasons, then love them for other reasons. But chances are, in the beginning, there was some flirting going on. And then from what I hear a lot in relationships and stuff like that, and all of a sudden that stuff just kind of disappears off in the nether. We stop dating. We become roommates. And some people, that's good enough. But some people, when that spark of flirtation shows up, either they go, what got into you? Or they're intrigued by the fact that the old person showed up again and it was fun. That's why I put it down as the importance of flirting. I've had a number of older people who just thought I was the bee's knees. Even when I was younger and bartending, it was fun because they'd come in and, oh, Mr. Johnson, is that a new scarf? Hey, did you wear that just for me? Really? What happens? Big grin. Oh. Laugh and I giggle, and it cost me nothing. On the spectrum of energy, where would you guys rank the energy of flirtation? High or low?
Pretty high, I was going to say. Setup, and then for the ones that they most.
Sorry, we knew you said something, but all of us had the same look of it. That's how I knew it wasn't just me. I was like,
It's pretty high, right? It's playfulness, so it's fun and it's contagious. I do that.
you seem to be having some mic issues with you. We appreciate it. It's one way to get everybody to get closer to the speaker going. Is it just me? No. So, or you could type it in. Again, 3 solutions to every event, situation, are pretty high since it's playful, plus it's contagious. It is contagious. That's the best thing that I love about it. When you start having fun and that energy goes around, it spreads out like ripples in a still lake. Toss that rock out there and just watch it affect people. Right now, for the next 2 weeks, my wife's daughter's stepson, who is 13, will be here for 2 weeks. And he got to spend a day running errands with me yesterday. And got to watch me be my goofy self at Home Depot with the amount of people that work there who now know me. and how I love to give them a hard time and have fun and laugh and giggle, and then all of a sudden they're telling me, oh, by the way, they discounted the blah, blah, blah. They're over in aisle 3. Because now they're willing to look out for me and keep me informed. Costs me nothing to have fun and make their day easier. And in return, I get information. Insider trading? Is that what's happening? No. But they do know where the bargains are. And it pays off. So that's my touch on the importance of flirting. Anybody got any stories or ahas or epiphanies they would like to share with us before we move on to the yes? Holly.
I just talked about this. I actually completely forgotten about this, but when I was younger, it was a church function, and of course, being in church, you think, oh, we can't do the littlest bit of flirting. And there was an older guy, and some of the sisters in the ward were flirting with him, and his wife said, oh, that's so sweet. I love when he gets to feel good about himself and when he makes other people feel good about themselves. And that was the first time I'd ever looked at it that way. And I just remember how sweet it was, and thinking, that's who I want to be when I grow up.
Yes. Lenora, you got your hand up.
I would probably, at least for me, because I do love language so much, I'd probably label it as being friendly. At least I find if you come across as flirting, or people are very quick to say in a very inappropriate way that you're flirting, and it goes drastically wrong very quickly. So I tend to just be polite or friendly or engaging in some way. I don't label it as flirtatious. So
yep.
That's just me.
And that's the slippery slope that makes the ride fun. When you get bartending, I used to watch some of these. Of course, I looked at them like grandpa. Now I'm realizing they were grandpa, but they weren't quite as ancient as I thought they were. Maybe. But watching them, especially, there were some that were so good at it that they could make you laugh and giggle, and you still knew you were safe. Everybody knew you, because they would, again, just like me, they would flirt with the 2-year-old and the 102-year-old with the same fun, infectious energy, and and bebop out the door, and you knew what kind of energy it was. And then, of course, we've all seen the sneaky Pete dark dude that's trying to flirt with the ladies in the bar, and the ladies are like, ah, help, help, help. Francine, you got your hand up.
Yeah. On the flirtations, you can also just do the playfulness. My husband is incredibly good at that, being playful. And even if I'm hospital and when I had a kidney stone and I was in hospital in so much pain, and he still managed to make me laugh.
Yes.
He still managed to get giggles out of me, even I was in incredible pain. And that really made such a big difference. And yeah, he's a clown. He's not just playful, he's an absolute clown. And I love him for that.
And the world needs so many more of those type of people, female and male. Because everybody's just so serial these days. There's enough milk floating around. We all get mushy. Don't need no mushy people. Stop being so cereal. Coming straight from a crazy comedian such as myself. Any other input on that before we switch to gears? Yeah, no? Well, you're all pretty cute today, so I appreciate that. Now, on to the fears. The fears of the flirting. Well, we could do that too, but last week we touched on where did you get your fears from? And I got some pretty good feedback, not only off camera, but by a couple of people that had watched the replay. And see if you all were paying attention. Where was some of the interesting places that you heard about last week about where we got our fears from? Yes, Francie.
The movie industry.
Movie industry. Boom, shakalaka. Thank you, Hollywood, for making everybody paranoid about stuff we don't have to be, but it sells. Where else?
Childhood, parents.
What was that?
Childhood or parents.
Parental units. Yes, love the parental units that love to instill their fears that they got from their rental units so that the entire 7 generations can all be absolutely terrified of things that they could completely be in control of. Any others? Yes.
My son grew up, my youngest, I have 3 children. My middle son, he grew up in South Africa. And when he was about 7, we've moved to Ireland. And he grew up with no shoes and no flip-flops, nothing, just barefoot. So when we arrived in Ireland, it was kind of difficult for him to get used to shoes straight away. The first thing he used to do is come back from school and take his shoes off. And the neighbor used to tell me that I need to tell my son to put his shoes on because that was so dangerous. Yeah. So, and he overheard me, and I said to him at the time, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. It's not dangerous, not to, because the rats are going to come and eat his feet. That's what they say.
Yes.
And I said to my son, don't listen to them. It's bullshit. So it's interesting to say the least.
Yes. And so I'm going to label that as environmental. And people will learn environmental fears, but they will carry them to different areas, or they will carry them to multiple generations. Yes, back in the day when the Black Plague came through, rodents and stuff like that were bad stuff. And some people have forgotten that in the last 200 years, we figured out what was going on, and for the most part took care of that, because there are parts of the world where rats are considered good, and they're still allowing 80 rats to come in and have a bite to eat in their house. And I know that some of you just had a shudder that went through your body 7 generations back. Like, ah! And yet they're sitting there putting out a bowl of milk, and you'll watch 70 rats come in and circle around and have a drink, and the kids are playing with them and petting with them. And one of my clients, I said, what's the difference between a pet rat and a wild rat? A pet rat is one that somebody went out and flipping paid money for. Like actually paid money for it and took it in, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. There's plenty of wild ones out there. And as soon as they realize, A, you're not going to kill them, and B, you're willing to give them food and housing, they're a pet. Free. Get 2 of them, male, female. You got 40 pets just like that. And they all love and adore you. They'll even come up and let you play with them and pet them. And I know there are people right now, 7 generations just shuttered. But when I get people like, oh, I got a pet gerbil, I'm like, okay, so you got another rodent with different outfit. Rats are bad, squirrels are cute. It's a cousin with a better clothing outfit. I mean, but rats have that tail. Yes, squirrels have the same tail with a coat on it. What? Kids with pet mice. Again, what's the difference between a problem mouse and a pet mouse? Somebody went to a store and paid money for the pet mouse. And yet, it sounds like I'm making fun of people, but I'm not. It comes down to, where did your fears get handed to you? 2 families in America living next door to each other, and one, the 5-year-old, has a pet mouse that it gets to hold and play and pet and everything and clean up and learn how to take care of the cage for it and make sure that it feeds and waters it every day. And in the other house, Ma thought she saw a mouse, jumped on a chair, screamed, the whole block heard her. Papa showed up with a shotgun, blew a hole through the door, trying to hit the mouse, missed it. Yes, no mice were, and this is a story, stop typing. And the 5-year-old kid saw this and instantly knew mice are out to kill me, and didn't sleep for a week. And what was the difference? The environmental information handed down through generations. My grandmother, God bless her, terrified of storms, especially thunder and lightning, would absolutely, if a thunderstorm came through at night, the next day she was shot because she could not sleep for a second. And one time I called her up, and to her benefit, she answered the phone only to let me know, there's a storm coming and I can't talk very long because there might be lightning. And I went, Grandma, I've been to your house. How long is the cord that's on your phone? Well, there isn't one. It's cordless. I said, okay, it's cordless. So what happens if lightning hits the telephone pole? Well, Well, I said, yeah, the power can't go through the cordless phone. Worst case scenario, your phone goes boop, which it would do whether you're sitting scared in the basement, not talking to me or not. So I'll just talk to you as long as I can talk to you, and you'll be fine. We talked for 3 hours because we could. And she realized that she was safe on the cordless phone. Ironically, after the storm, and I was able to ask her how many people she knew that got electrocuted through the phone during a storm, she hadn't heard of one when she came to think about it. She just knew that grandma, her grandmother, was terrified of lightning storms and never figured out why. Generational environmental. And so when we take the time to think about all the things that people are afraid of, sometimes we forget how simple the foundation is to that fear. In fact, sometimes they can't even explain it until those of us in the profession have the ability to drill down, ask the right questions, go back, do regression, and see how far back we can find this energy that has those people absolutely paralyzed when that perfect memory for phobias kicks in, just like that. Because that is the easiest explanation of a phobia. Perfect memory. Every single time that little trigger happens, we have to react the exact same way. Perfect memory. But of what end does it serve us? Now, there are certain things, certain environments that ability keeps us alive. Australia would be a really good place to have perfect memory reaction. Everything down there wants to kill you. Francine is laughing her butt off right now. She's like, not everything.
Not
I mean,
everything. But
not
yeah,
everything. I mean, jelly rolls don't want to kill you.
at least where we live now, we don't have those dangerous redback spiders in our garage.
Oh yeah. Hey, at least they're like 40 miles away. They used to be right in the garage.
Yes, but not everything. But yeah, quite a lot of things are trying. Yeah, not every day.
Yeah, well, I know for a fact, if you Google what area of the planet has the highest percentage of things that can kill you, Australia is usually in the top one.
I've lived in Africa, and I would say that in Australia, you might have dangerous things. However, with common sense, you can avoid them. However, in Africa, it's not as easy as avoiding them. So I would still, as having lived in Africa, I'll say Australia is safer.
Well, there is that. I mean, in South Africa, you are definitely not on the high rung of the totem pole for carnage. On the other hand, when I was researching some of the stuff for Australia, the number of poisonous animals and plants and sea creatures is up there enough to where if you haven't spent some time around Australia with people who grew up in Australia, you've got a good chance that life could be pretty rough at times. Just saying, because you got to have yourself a good Aussie going, no, mate, you don't want to get over by that tree. The sap on it will kill you. No, mate, you don't want to be around that there animal. Its bite will kill you. No, mate, you don't want to go swimming in that other part of the ocean because, well, there's things that'll kill you.
Yes, and you don't want just to jump in any pond.
Yes, see, it could kill you.
To get out of it. Or you might not just want to run, even if it's on tarmac, in some creek, because there's brown snakes and who are dangerous. So, or tiger snakes. So yes, but then if you use a bit of common sense, you're right.
But part of that common sense has to come. I grew up in small town Minnesota, and other than a very occasional bear, which I never saw my entire life in my hometown, or maybe a large whitetail buck with horns if you corner it and make it mad, or the occasional bull at Farmer John's if you got in the wrong field. But other than that, there weren't any spiders to worry about. There weren't any snakes to worry about. Yeah. And then I made my first trip to Memphis, Tennessee, and was doing a demolition job on a movie theater there that Elvis used to rent out for his premieres, and pulling out one of the big poster marquees for Now Playing with another guy. Thank God he was from there. And we got it out enough, and all of a sudden he goes, Brown Fiddlers, run! And I'm like, what is this, Polka Fest? Fiddlers, whatever, dude. You left me with this big piece of aluminum with glass front. And he's like, dude, drop it, run, brown fiddlers everywhere, you're gonna die. And I'm like, and I set it down, and he's yelling at me like, where are you from? I said, Minnesota. He goes, are you dumb? I went, no. He goes, there's about 100 brown fiddlers in there, dude. And I went, so? And he's like, you better check yourself right now. If you see a single spider on you, get it off. Sure enough, we looked in the cavity that we just pulled this out. Big nest. Brown fiddlers, brown recluse, all in there. About 100 of them. I had no idea what it was, because I'm from Minnesota. There weren't any spiders I had to worry about. So I didn't learn to be afraid of spiders, and I hadn't watched enough Hollywood to be concerned. I should have been very concerned. And this is the point for those of you that want to protect and all, you can mute the recording. Yes, we got a fan torch and we killed all the spiders, because we had to work in that environment and didn't want to pick them up and bring them to a safe haven. But that was one, again, where situational awareness, I was not aware that I had moved into a location or was in an environment where a spider could potentially make my life not good. Yes, we had a couple of black widows where I grew up, but we knew what they were, and their their bite, their sting, whatever. No bueno, hurts like crazy. It's like a really bad bee sting. And I've been stung by bees and wasps and all the above, but not like what was described to me for a brown fiddler or any of the others. So, again, we have to look at where these fears and phobias and all these above came from so that we can decide, A, is it warranted and is it useful? Now, if you have a phobia of black mambas or king cobras or brown fiddlers or an occasional, great white that's like 12 foot long that's swimming by you while you're trying to swim on the beach, that's probably warranted. And yes, Hollywood had a great run with Jaws and freaked everybody out, and all you got to do while somebody's sleeping, dun 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 dun. I'm like, ah! But other than that, any input ahas on that? Well, we got 14 minutes left to talk about IMU. Yes, no? Okay. Well, I had Danielle comment on my Facebook post. What is IMU? IMU is a class that I offer. Stands for Identity Management University. And the reason I put that on there, recently had a client with a breakthrough where they've been going through some stuff, and with all the things they've gone through, they unfortunately had forgotten kind of who they were. And while we were working, I sent them through a couple of protocols that I've come up with. One was the control room and the other was the hologram deck. And I integrated that with the things that I teach through Identity Management University. And the quickest way, the easiest way to boil it down is so many people think they're lacking what I call certain ingredients. I wish I was more confident. I wish I was more outgoing. I wish I was more aggressive. I wish I could speak better. And so after we go through and identify limiting beliefs and things of that nature, one of the funnest exercises that I have inside the class is I will pick somebody out of the class and I'll go, okay, so this person that you wish you were, do you have the traits in mind? And if you could pull traits out and get hired to be the lead consultant for your own biopic, Hollywood's going to do a movie about you, and Elijah just joined us. Hello, Elijah. But Hollywood is going to do a biopic on you, and you're the lead consultant because you know yourself very well. And so you've made it all the way up to October 4th, 2022. And then, as in any good movie, something happens. Spider-Man goes to bed or goes somewhere one time, gets bit by a radioactive spider, and boom, life changed and will never be the same. Or, all the above. We can come up with hundreds of all these changes. So tomorrow, when you wake up and the changeover has happened and the new chapter gets started, and you have somebody, you have an actor or an actress now portraying you, what would they have to know about the new you? What would be different? What would change? And who would play your part and why? And how many other people, alive or dead, real or fictitious, would you pick from to create the persona of this new you? And so my client was like, oh, I would have so-and-so play me. And I said, okay, so what would be different? Well, they would be, and they would be, and they would be, and they would be, and they would be. And I said, okay, and how many other personas have you picked from? And they're like, what? I said, you can pick from as many different personas, whether they are live or dead, real or fictitious, and add them in just like ingredients you would into something that you were preparing. And because it's for you, by you, if you want to put Tabasco in your brownies, that's okay, because it's you. I know your entire life people have been like, you don't, that would be, oh my, who would, why would you want to put Tabasco in brownies? Well, I get it. It's not for you, Grandma. You think Heinz ketchup has a little bit of snap to it. Oh, yep, better stick with the Hunt's. That Heinz, it's a little spicy. Well, that was fine for her. But what would you do for yourself? Who do you want to be? And when they figure that out, here's where we have the fun exercise. And I've done this enough times where I tell people, I want you to step outside of the room and put on this new persona. How would they stand? How would they talk? How would they walk? What would they do different to separate them from who you were the day before? And the transformations that happen within just a matter of minutes, if that, sometimes even under a minute, is absolutely astoundingly amazing. People will walk back into the room 3 inches taller, 3 inches wider. Their voice will completely change, like my client did. All of a sudden, she's like, holy cow, my voice has changed. And I said, yes. And after I walk them through and talk with them for a while and ask them questions, I remind them, every one of these ingredients were already in your pantry. If they were not, you could not act them out. If you can act it, you can be it. Because you were just that person for the last how many minutes. And I'll watch some of them when they realize it start to shrink back into their old comfortable self. And I'm like, did you bring that person back? And especially I love it when I've got one or more days left in my trainings, because now I get to tell them, you have to be this person for the rest of the class. Ooh, I'm like, yes, I want to see this person that you desired so much that you put them together and were able to present to the class. You now get to be that person for the rest of the class so that you can get a better idea of what it feels like to wear this mask constantly and decide, is this your dominant mask or is this an occasional situational mask? Which is fine too, because all of us have, as I've said many times, have multiple personalities. You're not the same person Sunday morning at church as you are at the bar at 11:30 at night on a Saturday, or as you are first impression with your date, meeting their parents for the first time. Hi. As you are when you're out with your friends that you grew up with. It's all different masks. And if you can have that many personalities, what's one more? And yes, there are some people that have gotten so used to one of our old masks, people you grew up with since childhood, family members, that can make it uncomfortable enough to wear this new mask to where you're just like, you know what, it's not worth it. Fine, I'll be the person that you got comfortable with, but as soon as I'm out of your sight, taking that mask off, because that thing is tight and uncomfortable and makes it hard to breathe. Anybody got any input, ahas, epiphanies, now that we've got 3 minutes left on my time? Oh, anybody? Hello? Bueller? If not, I'm working on putting another class together here, hopefully not too far out, on languaging for sales and communications. And I've got a couple other ones that I've got in the construction phase, we'll call it. So if you have any interest, or if there's anything in particular that you would like to see created as a class, please reach out, leave some comments, things of that nature. We'll see what we can put together. But other than that, we're close enough to the top of my time to bring us into the next phase, which is open mic, open platform. Anybody have anything that they would like all of the people here present to chime in and help with? Any questions out of a wonderful book of ideas? Good, we got hands up. This will help. We had hands up, we have a hand up. Okay, Francine, what do you have for us this week?
I have a question for you. You're talking about the course that you're doing. Is this one going to be recorded or online, or? This
one, with the way I'm set up now, I'm hoping to have it an interactive, online and in-person course. The first class was was I wasn't set up yet to be able to handle online. So, and the recordings I posted to the wrong YouTube channel, and so I have to get those switched over so that people that want to purchase the classes will have the ability to purchase them and watch them.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'll be interested in that.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
awesome. Thank you. Anybody else got questions or stuff that we can work on, Lenora?
This would be for the whole group, and I know I'm definitely not alone in this. Can everybody offer some insight on accepting money for the work that you provide, for the service that you provide, the importance of it and what it actually means? Because my money paradigm has been now shifting for quite a while, which is great, but it's definitely still stuck in a gear that I don't like.
Who wants to go first, and then I'll play cleanup at the end. Anybody? Okay, then I'll chime in. This one rings very close to home for me as well. So do not feel like you are alone. In fact, a lot of clients I work with have a challenge with these because of stuff that belief systems that were handed down through generations is where it usually comes from. And of course, we've heard some of the famous comments. Anybody want to chime in after I throw, what do you think? Money grows on trees? What do I look like, a bank? Anybody else got any fun ones that they heard while they were growing up? No? Those were the only two? I'm the only one that was told amazing stuff like that?
This one wasn't when I was growing up, but I recently was told that anybody who makes over $55,000 a year is evil and irresponsible.
Ah, wow. Chances are that did not come from somebody who's making good money. Yeah, well, here's the thing. A lot of the people who pass these down or say these things, I've learned that you have to look at the lifestyle that they have, and is it one that you want? Do they have the opportunities available to them, or are they using it as an excuse? One of the best little tidbits I heard from a buddy of mine who is doing quite well for himself. He's a very good businessman. And his father told him, business is easy. It's not that hard. You buy something for $1 and you sell it for $2. That's business. Call it a finder's fee, call it a storage fee, call it a I've got more knowledge than you do fee. Whatever you want to call it to justify it. But the money that you made feeds you, houses you, keeps the lights on, keeps the wolves away. And unfortunately, so many people these days are the loss of 2 paychecks away from being in severe trouble. They are also in a situation where an extra $500 a month would make a huge difference. that to me is living a little too close on the edge. With the amount of opportunity and money that is out there in this day and age, and anybody that has a dumb phone like this, where you can access the internet, the amount of money that people who are no longer held back by these limiting beliefs are making on a simple cell phone is crazy. We've got 17-year-old first-time millionaires. They didn't come from a millionaire family. They got a cell phone, figured stuff out, and started making bank. And luckily, they're doing it at an age where these beliefs haven't been pounded into them long enough for them not to understand that they can't be a millionaire. The other thing I've found out, especially in our profession, where we want to help people, and I am so guilty of this and been working on it hard. We think that because we help people with words, and we didn't have to go to the store to buy the words, we didn't have to go to the whatever, that we can't justify charging a bunch of money for it. And I've been guilty of, well, I wouldn't pay that much for it because I know how to do it. And then you look over and there's somebody that's doing the exact same thing that you are. In fact, oftentimes you do it better, you're more qualified. And they're charging 3 times what you're charging and getting it. And the people that are giving it to them are giving it to them happily. What? So you have to drill down to values and criteria and belief systems, and where did that come from? And oftentimes, family, school, because here's a sometimes uncommon reality that hits people. Public schooling was not designed to make businessmen and business people and millionaires. Public school was designed to create well-conditioned employees. And you most certainly don't want employees believing that they are worth making $1 million. Anybody else got anything they want to add to that? Yes, no? Yes, Francine.
One of the great things my dad used to say is that you need to live and let live. It's not the amount that you earn, it's what you can earn. But it really depends on you. That's what he used to say. That was quite good. I wish I would have listened to him a bit more.
Right? But another way that I've heard it put is everybody quotes stuff like, money is the root of all evil. Well, there's a problem with that quote because it's not the complete quote. The complete quote is, the lust of money is the root of all evil. How convenient we leave off the front part to make the quest for what can be used as equally for good out of it. Money makes, what's that?
I love that one. The lust of
Yeah.
money is the root of all evil. I love that one. Thank you for
Because
that.
money only makes you more of what you already are. If you're already, we're just going to keep it nice and clean. If you're a real jerkhead and all of a sudden you're making a whole lot more money than you used to, chances are really good you're even more of a jerkhead now. If you're a kind, loving, giving, caring person, and suddenly you come into a lot more money, chances are, not always, again, so those of you stop typing, this is not a distinct, but chances are you become a more caring, giving, loving person. I love T. Harv Eker's approach, even though some of the stuff that he does is a little underhanded, I know, because we've deciphered it and he got me well. But the majority of it is still good. Millionaire Mindset, some of the things he says is, you think that these people that have all this money are just rich, greedy jerks until you start hanging out with them and you realize that they're the ones that are organizing the food drives and they're organizing this benefit and that benefit and they're giving their money away like crazy. And one of the other things he says is go to one of the rich, like the country club. And if there's some way that you can get into it, park at the far end of the parking lot so that you can walk past all of the cars that belong to the people that are in there. Go in, grab a table, act like you're waiting for a business partner. Order yourself something, even if it's going to cost you $27 for a glass of soda. But watch the people and listen to the conversations. They're not talking about how much they're making an hour. They're talking about how much is their portfolio worth. They're not talking about whether or not they're going to get the next, ooh, I'm going to get a promotion. They're talking about the next business deal that they're thinking about. And on a smaller scale, side hustles. How many different streams of income can you create? How much income can you create that creates income while you're sleeping? One of the biggest things from the trainings for this stuff is if you don't know how to make money while you're sleeping, you will work every day of your life. Now, does it take work to create passive residual income? Yes. But once you get that machine running, I'm all for having money printed while I'm sleeping. The idea of waking up in the morning and checking your bank account and goes, wow, while I was sleeping, my bank account increased by $7,000. While I was on vacation in Cancun, when I came back, my bank account had gone up by $20,000. And it's not for the greed. It's not for the grabbing of the money per se. What can you do with the money? And I'm not talking about, well, I could buy a Ferrari. Well, if that floats your boat, okay, fine. But what about other things like when you're in the checkout at the grocery store? And you see that single mom who's trying to decide what to put back because she only has X amount of money to feed her and her kids. And you have the ability to tell the cashier, there's an extra $200 that goes to that lady when she comes through checkout. And not for the glory. She doesn't even have to know who did it. Or the person from work, or, whose car died and it's beyond repair. And you just have the ability to have a car delivered because you have that much money available to you. And I've known a few of those people. If you read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, I grew up with a couple of them. And you would have never, ever known the amount of money they had. One of them still drove a beat up old F-150 Ford pickup, bib overalls, old work boots. Net worth was about $1.5 million. And I watched him a couple of times. Somebody's truck broke down. Now, did he go out and buy him a brand new truck? No. But he'd find a very reliable, good truck and just have it brought to him. Because what was $10,000 to him? It was a way of taking care of people because he could. But that doesn't happen by charging the minimum you can and living just above your means. At some point, you have to realize what value you have to offer and how much money there is available out there. One of my sister's classmates, I see him quite often when I go home. And his kid, when 2020 hit, and we know what happened then, sports were canceled and everything in his school, but they still allowed the ag program. Yes, because I grew up in farm country. They still allowed the kids to work in the ag area and learn how to grow stuff and things like that. Grandma and Grandpa lived on, I think, 200 acres, and about 30 or 40 of those acres were tillable, really good tillable farmland. Grandma and Grandpa retired, so the kid asked Grandma and Grandpa if he could grow some produce to sell. And this year, his dad figured he probably, as a 17-year-old, I think he is now, made about $85,000 this year with his produce stand. And that was only one of his forms of income at 17. Sadly, though, the other grandma and grandpa, well, is he putting away for his college fund so he can go to college? And the kid is like, what if I don't want to go to college? Well, how are you going to become successful if you don't go to a college? It's like, I made $85,000 this year. selling produce. First year, I thought that was pretty good. And I made about another 20,000 on the other couple of things that I've got going on. So I made about 100 grand this year. And I'm not even done with high school. Is that okay?
College is much more than just a degree, though, right? It's an experience.
Yes. And as long as you recognize it, because remember, I dealt with college kids for 14 years. I watched those educated little generations coming up. And I'm not against college. I'm not. If your desire is to become a doctor or a dentist or a real lawyer, yeah, I want you in college. I don't want, my brain surgeon to go, I thought college was a, so I'm just kind of winging it. No, I want them to go to college. But one of the kids, when they're telling me that they're graduating with a degree in ancient African tribal dance, that was his degree. And when he told me the amount of college loans he had out, because he'd just been basically living at college, not working, and getting his degree in ancient African tribal dance. I'm like, okay, so I might be naive and don't, stop typing if I've just offended you, but maybe you could type and tell me what job I'm unaware of that is screaming for somebody that has a degree in ancient African tribal dance. And it's not racist. It could have been ancient Norwegian Viking dances. And I would still be like, a degree? Like, that was your 4 years? That was, you graduated and you're like, here's my plaque, my one plaque. And I know we got a little off topic and I'm chasing squirrels and all the above, but anybody got any input or want to change the subject? I'm fine with that too. I've obviously got a little bit of a rant on this one because I grew up with the limiting belief. It was really, really hard for me back in the day to charge even what my competitors were charging. I would hear what they were charging. I'm like, are you kidding me? I would never pay that much. Well, of course you wouldn't, because you can do it yourself. And yet they're the ones that are driving the brand new vehicles and living in the bigger house than you and going on the vacations you wish you could go on, because there are people that are happily paying them what you think is way out of what you would pay. And the people that are paying you what you think you're worth are happy because you're a bargain, but they're also questioning, why are you a bargain? And they can be some of the hardest people to work with. Dr. David Snyder said it perfectly well, and a lot of people have agreed, not only with him, but when I brought it up, is in our industry, yes, you can charge $50 an hour. You can also charge $200 an hour. You can also charge $500 an hour. And the $50 an hour client, I have found to be true enough to be true, is the hardest client to work with. When I raised my rates up to 200 an hour, yeah, I lost a number of clients. But it also took me 4 clients 4 times as long to make the same amount of income. And my $200 an hour clients are much easier to work with. They are. More skin in the game, more dedicated to the change. And the worst clients I've had to work with, free. Family and friends. I refer them out now. I've got a couple of friends that can you do this? I'm like, yeah, but I know somebody that can do it really well. And I would rather just refer them out because A, they don't want to pay me because they grew up with me and they've seen me at the party with the lampshade on my head. No, it didn't happen. There are no pictures to prove it. This was before Facebook. But still, I know that because I want them to get the change, I would rather send them to somebody who will charge them $200 an hour and give them a much better opportunity to get the change than I would by doing it for free and having it just not take effect, which what happens when we do our work and it doesn't work makes it a little more challenging for the next person sometimes. And sometimes they won't even go to the next person because they're like, I'm one of those, it just doesn't work. I'm helpless. I can't be helped. I'm stuck this way for the rest of my life. Now we're on 27 minutes for my rant. Any other questions or?
Yeah, I had another question. So this is for everybody, because I'm pretty sure that everybody has, and maybe I'm assuming, I know some of you have also paid for change work. I absolutely have. What did you find so beneficial? And what do you still find beneficial that you keep going back to pay people for the changes that you get? Or even continue to go to the classes, because I know we've gone to classes and we all keep getting changed. So what is your favorite thing about paying for it? What does it reinforce for you?
I'll go for a minute. So I'm sure you've heard of the concept of the bread of shame. But it's the concept that, you need to pay for what you get basically, or may pay otherwise. But just kind of this idea that I just had this thought right now. When I go to somebody else and I'm paying them, they put in the effort. They put in a ton of effort to learn that skill, to learn whatever it is they're giving me. And basically by paying, I'm able to shortcut the entire system. They're allowing me to build on their shoulders and not have to start from scratch. And that could be very, very beneficial.
Anybody else? I still pay for change work. And part of it is the flip side of what I just discussed, because I know from this side which people are easier to work with. I also know that the person that I'm working with has bills. And I want them to make sure that their bills are paid. I want to make sure that I do my portion of helping them pay their bills, because I want them around. just like the small businesses and things of that nature. You know, I've heard, I can't stand the big chain stores. And I'm like, okay, so which small business have you supported lately? Well, their prices are higher. Yeah, they are. Because they're not buying 700 truckloads of the same item. But they know your name. They know your kids. And the same with the quality of classes. As we know now, you can learn virtually anything on YouTube. Virtually. There's so much information on there right now. I've said this before. We should all be able to speak 9 different languages. Why don't we? Well, it's free. It's right there. It's free. And there's something about having skin in the game, money on the line, investing into it, that gives us that driver, that quest for value. And it's the same with, it's amazing how people will pay. When I heard that some people are paying for, $5,000 for a 4-day class. Well, you can get that information on YouTube. Yes, you can, but I've watched the people that have dealt with that. And even when I was working with Dr. David and his classes, people would show up. I've binge watched all of his classes for 2 weeks. Good, glad you showed up for class. Show me what you know. Oh. There was this thing about this thingy thing, stuff thingy. And when they left the class that they paid for, they owned the information. And they went from, on a scale of 1 to 10, when they walked in, even though they binge watched all the classes for free, they came in not at a 0. That would be the person who's never heard of the person, and they've never heard of the information. And we had one of those in Australia. The wife brought the husband to Dr. David's class, and he knew he'd never heard the name. He hadn't watched a single video, knew nothing about, he could barely spell NLP. And admitted that about 2 hours into the first day, he was almost ready to get up and walk out, because he didn't understand the application. And had it not been for the fact that he loved and adored his wife, he would have. Also, had it not been for the fact that he figured, he didn't know what his wife paid for the class, but he knew the class wasn't free. And he wasn't going to walk out. But at the end of the class, the transformation, the abilities that he had were incredible. And so, wrap around to, why do you pay to go to other people's class? I think it's part psychological. Well, a couple of different parts psychological. One is paying to own the information. The act of reciprocity. I give you this, you give me that. I give you monies, you give me brain food. I give you the monies, you give me the drills and the skills to make sure that I own what I just purchased for. In fact, I just had a client tell me they wanted to get certified in NLP, and they were wondering if I would be offering a course on that. And I said, no. Even though I've 2 certs in NLP, I would not call myself a master practitioner in NLP. And I would not feel comfortable at being at a level to charge for teaching NLP. The classes that I teach include a lot of NLP modalities in them because I paid for the time, I acquired the skills, but I have integrated them into the things that I teach. Because I know that was a lot of different angles on that question, so I hope I didn't chase too many squirrels and go down too many alleyways and lose you. But any input or questions on my talk? Yes, no? Aru? Anybody?
Very helpful. Thank you, guys. Yes. Very nice.
Okay. Now because I know you, I've got a funky feeling that there's a pamphlet, a notebook, a legal binder that
There's
has
nothing to see over here.
about 4 pages of questions, and if nobody's going to bring one up, we got 23 minutes left of content creation. So I have no problem if everybody else is just kind of like, we just showed up for the info, like showing up for the popcorn. What else can we throw them? Go ahead, please.
I'm getting there. When you present something to somebody, so talking about the pain and the pleasure, like, hey, you're really stressed about the holidays coming up. If you wanted to have a class about that, or say, New Year's resolutions, how do you start here's your pain, here's where we can take you? Kind of like that intro to a course. That's where that kind of advertising marketing component is where my thoughts are. Did that make sense?
Yes, who wants to go
Okay,
first,
good.
please?
You
Oh, Francine's got to go. All right, Francine, thank you. Have a great time.
use a format system. You ever heard of format? You can look it up. The number 4 and then MAT. Look it up on Google or whatever, and it's like, let's open it here. Like if you go to like images or something, you'll see it. It's like the why. You start with the why. Like, why do you want to learn this? And that's your why is usually really short. It's really snappy. It's really, do you know what I mean? Like, what is the benefit? What is the good shit that you're going to get out of this? Then you have the what, which is even if you look at like David's trainings and stuff, like they follow this system, right? Even Overdrive follows a system. Everybody does. All the really good trainers, they have like a general, like this is like the skeleton, if you like, or the frame. You have like why, what's the personal relevance to the individual, why they might want to learn this. What, is like what it is, you know, that's your actual content, right? The theory part of your content, if you like, yeah. And there's a fair bit of teaching there. It can be didactic, it can be experiential, like in our terms, in terms of like hypnosis courses and stuff. Some of it you could do it very didactically, very like theory, and some of it you could do like experientially by like, you know, changing the way you speak to the class or changing the way you speak to the listener and having them have the trance-like experience and kind of moving between one and the other. And then you have how, which is like the exercise part. You know, you give the instructions, you set the exercise, and they go off and split into groups, 2, 3s, 4s, whatever, and do the exercise. And you come back and you do the what else or what if or what did you learn? You know, that you must have heard David do this a lot. He goes around the class. Okay, what did we get out of it? What did you learn? And you kind of go around the groups and go around the individuals and kind of do it. And each time someone shares their experience, you as the presenter have an opportunity to expand on the point that was just made and kind of help link the dots together so that everybody can have a better understanding of, and that's it. It's called the format system. It's very, very good. You can pretty much create any training using this format.
That was super helpful. Thank you so much.
Anybody else want to chime in? One of the things that popped up is, are you looking for more information to working with individuals or small groups or large groups?
Just kind of a mix right now. I'm thinking small groups of like 10 or less.
10 or
So,
less?
yeah.
Have you identified your target market, your perfect customer?
No.
That would be a,
probably help.
yeah. Then instead of doing shotgun effect, you're becoming a sniper. Once you identify your perfect customer, then you can do a reverse, almost like a reverse IMU. Who are they? What is their problem? How do they feel about their problem? What have they tried to alleviate the problem? How are you the solution? That allows you to create a conversation, an introduction, a pitch, if you may, specifically towards that person, regardless of the size of the group. Because if you were to study some of the best advertising companies out there, first thing they do, who is our customer? What's their demographic? Where are they from? What's their problem? And the funniest ones that I love to watch are the late night infomercials. I can only stand them for so long, but
I love infomercials. They're so convincing.
And why? Because they take the problem.
Because it vacuums up in $19.99. My dirt pile's gone. That is a convincing ad.
But how do they convince you that it's a good product?
They show
First they overemphasize
yes, paint.
how bad the problem is. Oh my goodness, look at this. Our dog just brought in 7.5 cubic feet of dirt on its feet on the brand new floor. We'll never get it out. Oh my God, I tried it with this old vacuum and nothing happened. And then I opened the canister and poof, all the dirt went over the house all over again. And I had this cord that was too short and it was only 2 feet long and I couldn't get to the corners, and then and it didn't have a light on it. Thank God for Suckovac. Suckovac saved my life.
I think you've watched a few.
That's why I can't. But again, they identified the problem and they went for a very specific target market. And I'm going to give a shout out to Jason Linett. His process for speaking to groups, especially those of you that do anything with BNI, Chamber of Commerce, things of that nature, is brilliant. And what he does is when he's especially as the guest, he lets them know that he would like to speak last, because then he listens to who they are, makes mental notes. He'll write down little notes of plumber, banker, get a little idea of who his crowd is. And instead of the traditional 30-second elevator pitch, he will stand up and go, well, for those of you that are, like if you were in the plumbing industry and you had problems with it, or if you were a banker and and you have this problem and you have this problem, and I help people with this issue and I help people with this issue, and with 10 seconds left, and I am a professional hypnotist, and my name is Jason Linett. If you want more information, see me afterwards. And he pinpointed and figured out ways to show a problem, show the solution, and then the contact information last. And then if you really want to have fun from the infomercials, but wait, there's more. Buy today, get one free. Some assembly required, batteries not included, may cause.
And of course, you need the not 30-day money-back guarantee, but not 60-day money-back guarantee, but a 90-day money-back guarantee.
Oh yes, of course. Call now, don't delay, do it today. How many slots do we have available? We should have 20. Oh, we're down to 10? Oh, don't delay. Spots are filling up fast. And one of the things I learned from T. Harv Eker and Peak Potentials, stories. Stories are one of the best hypnotic styles of sales. And T. Harv Eker is a master. How do I know? Because I was in the crowd and got my butt up and walked back and maxed out my credit card to buy that piece of paper right there, that one right there, that one. Yeah. And I still hang it on my wall because what I paid for, I still have the knowledge and I still teach it and I still utilize it. So, but when Dr. David Snyder had one of his classes on NLP, hypnotic language patterning, and sales, and then brought up T. Harv Eker, and somebody had a recording of it and did the breakdown of the languaging and all the above. And I went, yep, it worked. It works very well. It got me. Done.
Thank you.
Cool.
Very
So
helpful. Very, very
What's question number 3 on page 2?
helpful. Well, I was asking because I'm gonna present with the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm trying to, I know how we talk on this side, and I have yet to really dissect the marketing component of things. So at least to the level that I feel comfortable. So any insight, guidance, thoughts, go for it.
How well do you know your market? How well do you know the people that are attending? Have you researched anything into who the members are?
It's kind of like whatever you want it to be, make it like that, and then they'll put it out there. It wasn't that there was interest. They were like, oh, hey, you have this skill set. Let's make something with it.
Okay. So again, I would go straight back to who is your
Who am I
perfect
looking-
client,
Okay.
your perfect client for you.
Okay.
And once you have that identified, you have the ability to smooth it out a little bit on the edges.
Okay. Any suggestions from anybody? Like if you were, so I'm thinking more on people who are wanting to stress less during the holidays or find a way to enjoy the holidays, because I'm thinking that this will kind of come together by the end of October, beginning of November. So those are the types of things that I'm thinking, but then I'm also thinking you're going into the holidays, so is anybody really going to be wanting to participate?
Okay, so let me ask you some questions then. Again, perfect client.
Here's the light.
Married or single?
My guess is married.
What age?
This is the picture that's coming up, like late 30s, early 40s, person who owns their own business, who's coming into the holidays, who is just completely fried from COVID in the last 2 years of life and is just trying to reset and find a way to go into the holidays. That's like, this is going into 2023 is going to be a much better year. Things are going to be a lot better. Let me start laying the groundwork now.
Cool. Thank God this is being recorded because you just did part of your infomercial.
Okay.
Without saying, hi, you are a married 30 to 40-year-old person. The rest of it is what you described. After what we've gone through for the last 2 years, the holidays are coming up. Are your kids going, yay, presents? And you're going, oh my gosh, bills. And you feel that energy rising up. You feel that pressure. Well, I know how we here at XYZ therapy, we have the ability to help you know how or learn how to deal with the stress. How can you help not only your family, your household, but your children to deal with the stresses that have not only been happening for the last 2 years, but are coming up with the upcoming holidays. And then here's my contact information, and yet we offer a free consult because we want to make sure that you're a good fit. But again, identify the problem, describe it as good as you can. I offer the solution and how do they get a hold of you. And there's a lot of debate going back and forth on the forums about offering discounts. Most people say do not. That is the majority. But you can put the value of the free consult on there. If it's a half hour free consult, well, then you put down a $100 value. That tells them you charge $200 a month, $200 an hour, but it also puts value into the free consultation.
Thank you. Awesome.
Any other input on that, please?
And something really fast that just, I think it's Jordan Peterson, isn't it, that says that you don't ever talk to an audience, you talk to individuals.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking the same thing. You never market. I mean, obviously it's nice to know, the group dynamics, but just when you're pulling up your avatar, I don't know of any avatar that's 30s and 40s, so just experiment.
Come
maybe
on.
with that. Bring up one specific ideal customer. And remember, I mean, obviously you have to, as Peter's saying, smooth it out for others, and you could pull up more than one and say, okay, what are you like? What are you like? But just throw that out there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Um,
No, go ahead, please.
No, I was just gonna say, even from like still learning a lot from the marketing standpoint, I had taken Dr. Nongard's class about like business and marketing, and he looked at my website and he was like, yeah, you gotta change all of this. So when you had said to put the value on it, that's a really great point that I need to make sure that I'm doing. So it's definitely in the transition process, but definitely Jason Lynette and Dr. Nongard have really nailed down their website. So great things to model.
And again, it also validates the fact that you're not free. You're not the low end, you're not the budget, you're not the, and nothing against the people that are serving that community, because I did it for a short while. But in the end, and I've heard it from enough people to agree, it does a disservice to the industry, and you're not helping people as much as you believe you are.
I like that you said disservice to the industry. And I try to think of it like the way that I invest in money is different than the way other people would invest in money, and the way that whether they make less income or more income than me, each way, it's always a difference of opinion. It's always a difference of perception. So trying to think of it from that customer's, or not even that customer, that client standpoint of what's important to them, and trying and wanting to find the person that's going to be a match for them, where they are holding value in themselves because they're holding value in themselves. So they want to see that that's a mirror.
Yep.
That's where I am, guys.
Another, I know this is kind of a offshoot, but perceived value is huge. What's the easiest way to get rid of a couch? Put it out with a sign for free, or put it out with a sign that says $50 or best offer. $50. Same couch. The free one will sit there for 2 weeks. The one a block down that is the exact same couch that says $50 or best offer, 1 day. Perceived value. And so when they know that your free consultation is $100 value for 30 minutes, that's valuable. Also, you get a much better show up rate. In fact, through the clinic that I work through in Solana Beach, Dr. Dawn, which is Dr. David Snyder's wife, if they are a no-show, they get one more chance. And if they no-show twice, they get charged $25. So also make sure that you have those things written into your agreements. You understand your business plans that, yep, if you're a no-show, I'm going to have to charge you because I showed up, I turned on the lights, I turned on the computer, and I set aside the ability to make money. And with that brings us right to the 801 period, which is where, as much as sometimes, even like tonight, it bothers me because I just love to chat and teach and all the above, but I want to respect everybody's time. I promised when I started this that I was going to keep it to 2 hours because time is the only thing that I cannot give you. And I appreciate all of your cumulative time that you guys have given to me. And I hope that I have made it worth your while. As always, please comment, click the like button if you liked it. If you don't, go click somebody else's, hit subscribe, click the bells, share it with others. Most importantly, go out in the world and live well, be nice to others. I appreciate you. Love you all. See you in 7.